Let me tell you what I felt after I retired. 23 years. I was really messed up. Drug addict. No purpose. Hated the world. For hours I would watch a TV that's off, and I heard this one voice just so strong. This voice was so strong over any other voice. It said, "Get up." At one point in my life, I was addicted to painkillers. Carrying one painkiller in my coin pocket, waiting for the next feeling that I'm going to have to numb it. Wanted to hide. So after my time in service, I retired after 23 years of service, honorably retired. I want to put you on this day. I was going to my retirement ceremony. I was really messed up. Drug addict. No purpose. Hated the world. Couldn't see the joy in the day, So I was putting on my uniform, medals, all the way up to my shoulders, all my times in service. Putting on my uniform. Not even proud. Remember that proud young Green Beret? He's gone. And it started to rain. I remember it was raining so hard that day. My mother flew in from North Carolina to see me. And I was driving. I was in such I was having anxieties, I was driving with my mother to the restaurant. I apologized to my mother. It's raining so hard. I wish today is better, Mom. I wish this. My mother said to me that, son, in the Asian culture, rain is needed to wash away the old. To make room for growth. And I was so blinded that day that I couldn't see what she was saying. Driving there, I was so in a bad place, So I retired. Let me tell you what I felt after I retired. 23 years. Saw the worst in humanity. Saw the worst in myself, right? I was in this drug addict. I was far off the path of the way, Bushido. Lost myself because hate took me off that path of a warrior. I want to put you on this day, my wife, what an amazing person. She was with me through my whole career. Sacrificed it all. Here she is, this really accomplished person. And she was working up in Denver, Colorado, where she's this huge manager, right? Managing all these people. Master's degree, accomplished. Here I am, a 23-year commando. Laying in a dark room. Tired. I thought that, it's just, I was physically tired and I was injured, I thought I was it, but it wasn't. I had no purpose, And I was a drug addict. So I was sitting here in this dark room, right? And my wife was working up in Denver, and for hours, I would watch a TV that's off, hearing the voices of the world. And I heard this one voice just so strong. This voice was so strong over any other voice. It said, "Get up." So I did. I walked around this dark house. Somehow this energy led me to my war room. I have in this war room collection of books, collection of everything I accomplished in the military. Things all around the world, Literature of warrior, Bushido. Blindly, I opened up the book and I pulled out a book. It's the Book of Five Rings. By Miyamoto Masashi. He was a Ronin. He was born in the late 1500s and died in 1645 after writing the Book of Five Rings in a Buddhist cave. Opened up this book blindly and it said, everything exists. Everything exists within. Look nowhere else. At that point I was looking for the answers everywhere else. I was looking for the answers in these painkillers, trying to draw the strength from my wife, calling ex-teammates, trying to draw what is external to affect how I felt internally. Internally, I was defeated. So these words from a Ronin reminded me of Bushido and how far I came off the path. And I made a choice that day to be something more. I don't know what it is, but to be something more. Just like I was 9 years old, I didn't know what the strength was that's stronger than hate, but I'm going to be something more. So there it was. I took all the painkillers and I dumped it down the toilet. Let me explain this to you. Painkillers, antidepressants, sleeping pills, those were my addictions, you see. Because during the war, we had to stay awake during a reconnaissance mission. So we take Adderall. And then when we come back, we're on the pager. So our instincts, we can never rest because our mind is constantly, if that pager goes, you're going to go on that mission. Right? And that mission is life and death. Is that real? So what I'm saying is very hard to turn off the human senses of survival. So they'll give us, sleeping pills. And then if you're in pain, you start taking painkillers. You understand? I dumped it all. And I sat with myself for the 30 days, the first 30 days, the withdrawal symptoms, the pain, the shivering, the voices became louder. And I studied mind and body, right? So I remember there was during a certain phase of my military career, we just came out of Basilan Island where we fought the Abu Sayyaf, right, in southern Philippines. And we went into mountain warfare training when we were training in the Himalayas. It was in this training, it was over a month of training with the Indian Commando Forces. Cliff assaults, free climbing with equipment, machine guns, in this rigorous environment, 18,500 feet, no oxygen up there. Training at that intensity, commandos. On the weekends, we would be exhausted. So, guys want to sleep. But for the samurai, I needed to go visit the Tibetan monks. So I grabbed one of my loyal commandos and he drove me to this Tibetan monk. And because he was a commando, the monks would let him in. They usually don't let Westerners in there. And the monk asked the commando, what does he seek? Wisdom. I walked up to this monk and I said, Monk, why is the world so cruel? He smiled, he came up, he grabbed my hand, he shook my hand, he pulled me out in the back. It was an open field, behind his temple. Took the stick, he drew it on the ground, he threw 2 sacks on. One was black stones and white was white stones. And for many years, he said he would sit there and he would look at this circle on the ground. And he has a bad thought. He would take a black pebble, throw it into the circle on the ground. For many years, he said. For many years, 4 years. He said it was all black. And now it's all white. I asked the monk what changed. Why? He said, you see, the world is so cruel because we're unaware of our emotions within the moments. And if we take inventory of our emotions, then we have a choice. And the world is so cruel because people are unaware of their emotions, and we have more control of our emotions. Would the world not be so cruel? It's very Confucius, You wish the world be a better place. It begins with you. Then, the next weekend I came back and visited a monk, and we were sitting out in this mountain range. Huge, right? Himalayas, can you imagine? So beautiful. We're up at the border of Pakistan, China, India. So beautiful. snow up at the peaks. And this monk I sat with this monk, and he reminded me how beautiful this morning was. How beautiful this day was. You say I didn't see it. I see it visually, but I wasn't there. I was trapped in pain. So I saw the ugly in everything. I wish this morning would hurry up and be over so I can go drink some coffee. Why is this monk sitting here for so long? My back's hurting. I looked at negative things, but yeah, here he is, present, and I wasn't, right? So fast forward that, throughout the weekends, I would practice with this monk, and he taught me death. He had me meditate on death. That's the Tibetan practice, to meditate on death every morning. The samurais in Shinto practice is to meditate on death. Bushido is to meditate on death. And what that means is, during that time, I would practice like I should have died here, I should have died here, I should have died here, life is great. But now I practice it in a way where if this was your last day on this earth, if you're sitting there in the morning and you're embracing what is beautiful, and you ask yourself in a moment of death, you say, this is my last day on this earth, will you not savor that morning? All the things that bother you in life, would it just not go away? So the samurais, they keep death near, So these three practices alone, I wrote them down because I reflected on my journey, right? So basically when I became Ronin, there was a certain process of rebirth where I shut down the world and I cocooned myself and I worked on myself. I shut down all my teammates, I shut down every external voice, and I heard only myself. The moment of rebirth.
As many of you know, we are independent creators and filmmakers, but there is a massive attack on us right now. Traditional media over the last few years has started to slowly die. They are no longer the independent voice that you first thought they were. That's why we've created Mulligan Brothers Patreon. We've built something special for our most dedicated supporters, and I want to break it down for you real quick. The supporter tier gets you ad-free early access to both video and audio versions of Mulligan Brothers interviews 24 hours before it goes public. The executive tier gets you everything that a supporter tier gets, plus more. Exclusive interviews and behind the scenes content, walk and talks, daily routines, unreleased interviews, the stuff that you don't see anywhere else. And finally, the executive producer tier. Everything from the supporter tier and the executive tier, plus exclusive perks. Access to our treatment packages. Be the first to see which guests are coming up and get insight into the topics we'll be discussing before anyone else. And you'll even get an executive producer credit on every single documentary that we make. So if you've ever wanted to support the Mulligan Brothers mission of inspiring change so we can go around the world and get these stories that nobody else will, this is exactly how you do it. Go to patreon.com/Mulligan Brothers or click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Join the community and help us inspire change.